Modern gaming is too connected. Every game you play feels too plugged in. It's too easy to get a hold of someone, and that doesn't even begin to account for all of the brain rot making its way into our games now. And this is even making its way into games that once brought me a sense of calm. I played a lot of Animal Crossing New Horizons when it launched, like everyone else, but even that eventually felt too on for me to go back to. I didn't want to constantly be seeing so-and-so is online notifications on my Switch while I was trying to unplug. And that's not to mention New Horizons' long list of online features that, while great, weren't really what I needed. But after going back to it, I realized there was another problem. Animal Crossing had become more controlled. You can choose exactly who lives on your island, exactly how your island looks, exactly who leaves, exactly who stays. And somewhere along the line, I think Animal Crossing forgot what being part of a community actually feels like. So I decided to go back, way back, to the game that started it all. Well, at least started it all here in America. Technically, the game that started it all was Dobutsu no Mori on the N64, but I'm talking about Animal Crossing on the GameCube. And what I found didn't just change what I think about Animal Crossing as a franchise. It didn't just change how I feel about New Horizons. It changed the way I think about my real-life community and the people around me as a whole. I needed a chance to reset, to disconnect from everything. Animal Crossing on the GameCube felt like the perfect way to do that. An opportunity to get in touch with my gaming roots. A time when consoles weren't online and it was just you, the game, and the sweet, sweet scan lines of your CRT TV. I can't really tell you why I went with this particular entry in the series. I have access to literally every other Animal Crossing game, and the GameCube version is often considered one of the most rudimentary in the series. When the next game, Wild World, came out, it advanced things pretty quickly, with each subsequent entry pushing the series further and further. But I think there's a simplicity to Animal Crossing on the GameCube that felt like it would give me the absolute purest version of what I was looking for. I gave myself some simple rules. When I felt like reaching for my phone, when I felt like scrolling too much, I would reach for the controller instead. The early days of the game were strange. See, New Horizons does a lot to make the game easier to play. Inventory items stack, there's an abundance of resources making it really easy to earn bells, and your villagers are so nice. Maybe even too nice, but we'll come back to them in a little bit. Versus the GameCube version where, man, there is a lot of resistance at the start. The way you earn bells is basically the same, but the number of opportunities the game gives you to earn them feels much fewer and farther between. You're constantly balancing your inventory because, unlike New Horizons, things don't stack. As a result, your house in the early days is always a mess until you can finally unlock the basement. It probably sounds pretty overwhelming and more than a little stressful, but honestly, it really invoked the feeling of moving out on your own for the first time, doing whatever you can to get by, working a job you're not crazy about for a boss that you're not quite sure of. And that's the thing that really struck me. Despite the animal villagers, the dancing gyroids, and the never-ending supply of paleo marvels buried in the ground, this all felt so real. I've moved away for the first time before. I've scraped by before. I've worked all sorts of odd jobs just to get by. Compare that to New Horizons, where you're not some plucky upstart striking out on your own for the first time. Instead, you're an island resident with a getaway package as if you were a contestant on Survivor. Instead of moving to a new town with new people and learning how to get by, you're gathering resources like this was Minecraft survival mode. Tom Nook isn't your local landlord who runs a corner store anymore. Now he runs Nook Inc. It's not a bad setup, but it's missing something that the GameCube version isn't. A sense of reality. and a sense of community. How many of us have left home, moved to a new town or city, or worked odd jobs just to make ends meet? That's about as universal of an experience as you can get. Now, how many of us have been dropped onto an island by a captain of industry and been forced to start a civilization? That sense of community is felt even more through the villagers. The villagers in the GameCube version of Animal Crossing have so much personality. There are so many stories out there about villagers being mean and nasty in ways that on paper sound completely off-putting, but the game balances that by making them absolutely hilarious. What often doesn't get talked about, though, is how they evolve over time. If you do favors for your villagers, talk to them, send them gifts, actually engage with them, eventually they'll become kinder. They may even become your friends. But that's contingent on you engaging with your community, taking part in the day-to-day life of your town. It requires you to make an active choice to participate. And if you don't, their lives move on without you. And this is where I admit, guys, I've been lying to you for a decent chunk of this video. I know I mentioned that I was playing this game on a GameCube connected to a CRT TV. Well, okay, I really wanted to, but see, I have this very cool Lightning McQueen CRT TV and it just isn't working right now. For some reason, whenever I turn on my GameCube or my PS2, the input just refuses to display my games. I've tried switching all of the inputs. I've tried cleaning things out. It just won't work. So if you live in New York City and you know how to fix CRTs, hit me up. Now, why is this relevant to my Animal Crossing villagers? Because I've actually been playing on the AYN Thor. Long story short, it's a souped up DS, 3DS inspired emulation handheld that can play most retro systems. And this is how I've been playing Animal Crossing, which means this thing has been in my bag or my pocket pretty much every single day, meaning I have no excuse not to check in on my town. Well, I skipped a few days and I can't really say why. Maybe it was VidCon prep, maybe it was just life, but the point is I stopped popping in. I stopped doing favors. I stopped being a part of the community. And when I finally logged back in, one of my villagers was just gone. Nosegay the Anteater had packed up and left, and I didn't really get to say goodbye. And when I stopped to think about it, I realized I had never really interacted with Nosegay all that much. I greeted her when she first moved in, and I check in every now and then, but for the most part, she was just a villager I passed on my way to doing other things. She had her own life, her own routine. All of my villagers did. And if I wanted them to be there for me, I had to be there for them, or else they'd move on. So I made an effort to check in more, and I haven't lost anyone else yet. And when I think back to my New Horizons villagers, they all feel so stale. On paper, the New Horizons villagers should arguably be the most complex in the series. Each villager has one of 8 personality types, along with an A or B subtype. That might not be completely correct as this hasn't been confirmed by Nintendo, but from most breakdowns I've seen, this is the common belief as to how they work. This should, in theory, help even villagers with the same personality type stand out from one another. The only problem is, it really doesn't. You can find loads of posts online from people with completely different villagers, only to have them start parroting the same exact dialogue over and over again, and it does not take long for this to happen. This can still happen in the GameCube game, but it feels much less frequent. And when it does happen, it's usually because you've doubled or tripled up on personality types, something that's far less likely to happen because you have so little control over who actually moves into your town in this game. Ultimately, your villagers in New Horizons don't end up feeling like friends or neighbors. They feel like toys, little dolls you can arrange however you want. There's no real sense of agency within them that makes you want to become an active participant in your community because you never really have to worry about them. The ultimate fear of losing a villager you love doesn't really exist anymore because they ask if they can move away, and you can simply tell them no. You can even use amiibo cards or villager hunting exploits to like build a single animal ethno-state if you really want. And speaking of control, how could I not mention New Horizons landscaping tools? You can literally bend the land and rivers to your will, until your island becomes exactly what you envision down to the tiniest pixel. Sure, in the GameCube version, you could reset your town over and over until you got a layout that you liked, but I'd argue that most people didn't play that way. And even if you did, you still didn't have total absolute control. There were always awkward cliffs, annoying rivers, buildings in inconvenient places, parts of your town that were just a pain, and you simply just had to learn how to live with them. It's all just too much control, whereas the GameCube version gives you, like I said, very little. And somewhere along the way, it clicked for me. This is what being a part of community actually is. A lot of people think that being part of a community simply means moving somewhere, but the reality is it's a lot of work. Want friends? You have to go outside, talk to your neighbors, and actually invest in those relationships. Want the way something's run in your town changed? You need to vote in your local elections. Is the layout of where you live, whether that's your apartment or your neighborhood, a little inconvenient? Most of the time, tough luck. You need to learn how to make the best of it. Animal Crossing on the GameCube nails that feeling in a way that no other game in the series has, especially New Horizons. Because being part of a community isn't about bending a place or its people to your will. It's about learning that place, finding where you fit in within it, and discovering the space where you and everyone else connect. I love my community, but after playing Animal Crossing on the GameCube, I found myself wanting to become even more involved in it. Frequent more local businesses, volunteer at my local neighborhood parks, get to know more of my neighbors. On some level, I was already doing a lot of these things, but Animal Crossing helped remind me just how important they really are. I love New Horizons. I honestly don't think I would have gotten through the COVID pandemic without it, but somewhere along the way, it lost something that I think is core to what Animal Crossing is supposed to be: community. Community isn't control. Community is showing up, accepting people and places for who they are, and then giving back, and maybe having that kindness returned to you somewhere down the road.